let me tell you a story from many years back, a story of horror. It all started when a group of friends from Chorley decided to go clubbing in Blackpool, a seaside town in the north of England. They arrived in Blackpool later than planned, and when they reached the club, the bouncers would not let them in. The club was apparently full. Disheartened, the friends left the club and returned to their vehicles. On the way back to Chorley, they decided to lighten the mood by picking up some alcohol. They spotted a dingy corner shop, and a few of the friends went inside. They picked up 2 bottles of iced diamond, the drink of choice for alcoholics. Very cheap, and as the lady behind the counter proclaimed, very powerful. The friends got back in the car and continued their journey to Chorley. "What should we do?" one friend asked. Joe Ladd, an adventurous but slightly irresponsible character, said, "I know of an old mental hospital that's been closed for a while. Why don't we down the iced diamond, smoke up some joints and go explore it?" The rest of the group looked at each other, some with excitement and others with worry. Nervously, 2 of the friends said, "Okay, let's take a look." The hospital was in a small village called Heath Charnock. It had been closed for many years and was the home of many mentally unstable individuals, driven mad in the small market town of Chorley, notorious for all kinds of mental disturbances throughout the ages. There's a rumour that Oliver Cromwell left his books in Astley Hall, which drove the maids insane to the point where they were certified and locked up in Heath Charnock Hospital, where they endlessly cried and tried to scratch out their own eyes. The friends arrived at the abandoned hospital and began chugging the iced diamond while furiously smoking 3 joints, adopting a cowboy and Indian style for maximum effect. Within minutes, the group was inebriated and their nervousness disappeared. One of the friends shouted, "To the padded cells." They all set off at a brisk pace toward the hospital, leapfrogging the broken fence. Whooping and cheering, they approached the main entrance. At this point, a dark figure appeared, wielding what looked like a cricket bat. Startled, the group stopped. It seemed like time had frozen. After gathering themselves, they turned around and ran with the dark figure in pursuit. Scrambling over the fence, the friends all returned to their cars, jumping in and frantically searching for the keys to escape the situation. It was at this point that all hell broke loose. A burst of sound exploded through the night, reminiscent of a shotgun shattering glass. Within seconds, the sound repeated. The dark figure was furiously smashing the car windows with his weapon, going from car to car, destroying everything he could. The air was filled with screams, the sounds of smashing glass, crumpling metal, and car engines furiously attempting to start. One by one, the cars screeched off and away from the hospital, leaving the horror behind. The friends regrouped about half a mile from the hospital, trying to make sense of what had just happened. As they gathered themselves, an old battered camper van pulled up beside them, and a mysterious figure inside rolled down the window. "Aye," the character said, "you look like you've seen a ghost." The friends went on to explain what had just occurred, and the stranger didn't appear surprised at all. He said, "Wasn't the Scottish guy with him?" The friends exchanged confused glances and replied, "No, we don't think so." At this, the stranger let out a cackling, piercing cry and screamed, "Well, you don't know how lucky you are." He then drove off toward the hospital and eventually disappeared into an eerie fog that they were certain hadn't been there earlier. The following day, the friends reported the incident to the police, but they were informed that the hospital had been abandoned and no one had been there since Jimmy the Jock was murdered in the waiting room by an angry cricketer. The cricketer, who had just been knocked out for a duck at White Coppice Cricket Ground, which was located near the hospital. The cricketer was so furious that he bludgeoned Jimmy to death before turning the bat on himself, brutally splitting open his own skull. And the rest, as they say, is history. And that is the story of Heath Charnock Hospital. The hospital has since been demolished and replaced with houses, but it is said that on quiet nights you can hear bagpipes playing an eerie tune against a soft backdrop of smashing car windows and muffled screams. I hope you enjoyed this macabre tale. If you did, tune in next week for another story of dread.